911. Lone Star was known for its high-octane disasters and talented ensemble cast, but some storylines the Texas spin-off almost pursued would have sent the procedural off the rails. Part of what attracted 911, Lone Star's sizable audience was the mix of exaggerated medical emergencies and grounded character work, but the lines occasionally got crossed. 911, Lone Star's intense rescues were a reliable source of tension, shock, and intrigue, but the procedural took risks to ensure the storytelling never went stale. While that philosophy led to some of 911, Lone Star's best episodes, it also inspired some baffling decisions. Throughout every season of 911, Lone Star, there were standout moments for better and for worse. Even the very ending of 911, Lone Star was deeply controversial, with the most egregious snubs only becoming more apparent with time. Yet, for all the missteps in the series finale, 911, Lone Star could have hit all-time lows with many narrative forks in the road. Whether the storyline would have derailed a character's development, disrupted the overarching narrative, or simply felt wrong, 911, Lone Star narrowly avoided mistakes that could have proved irreparable. 7. Tommy almost dated her brother-in-law. Season 3, Episode 17. When Gina Torres appeared in 911, Lone Star Season 2 as paramedic Captain Tommy Vega, her character's arrival felt like a missing puzzle piece finally falling into place. Tommy and her doting husband, Charles Derek Webster, even seemed sweet enough to quickly join the ranks of the best couples in the 911 franchise. Rather than let Tommy and Charles live in that domestic bliss permanently, 911, Lone Star suddenly killed Charles off at the end of Season 2. The true fumble came in the following season, when Tommy's brother-in-law, Julius, Nathan Owens, comes to town. Although Tommy is initially antagonistic towards Julius, she bonds with him over their mutual grief, but their commiserating takes a confusing turn when the two kiss in 911, Lone Star Season 3, Episode 14. 3 episodes later, Tommy and Julius sleep together, with he even claiming he loves Tommy. Thankfully, he leaves by the end of the episode. If Tommy moved on from Charles with his brother, it would have ruined their relationship and called her very character into question. The fling was morally questionable already, but at least the children never had to call their uncle their stepdad. After a tense touch-and-go period for Carlos and TK's relationship in 911, Lone Star, the couple played by Raphael L. Silva and Ronan Rubinstein, are thrown a curveball when the latter's mother suddenly dies. Along with his father, Owen, Rob Lowe, TK is meant to fly to New York immediately for her services. Before they leave Texas, however, TK finds himself alone in the ambulance bay and eyes the station's drug supply. Luckily, he never had the chance to take anything, but TK's grief nearly cost him his sobriety. Throughout 911, Lone Star Season 3, Episode 8, TK's plane ride is juxtaposed by memories of his mother flying him to a rehabilitation facility. In that sense, TK nearly relapsing makes sense thematically, but him actually following through with his urges would have seriously set back his development. Such a crucial part of TK's character is based in his perseverance and dedication to sobriety. It's natural for people who have struggled with addiction to have highs and lows in their sobriety, but having TK relapse would have jeopardized his job and, consequently, his role in the overall series. 5. Carlos almost got shot by the same man who killed his father. Season 5, Episode 8. When Gabriel Reyes, Benito Martinez, was shockingly murdered just ahead of the 911, Lone Star Season 4 finale, it sent shockwaves throughout the audience and the characters in canon. 911, Lone Star Season 5 picked up with Carlos taking up his father's mantle as a Texas Ranger, but the unsolved mystery of Gabriel's death weighed heavily on him. Carlos was so consumed by his father's open case, it put a strain on his relationship with TK and sent the newlyweds to couples counseling. Just as Carlos agreed to tone down his sleuthing, he found an unlikely lead within the Rangers. Carlos suspects his partner, Sam Campbell, Parker Young, but he turns out to be a red herring set up by the real culprit, the corrupt Chief Bridges, Alan Autry. Bridges leads Carlos into seclusion under the guise of helping him take down his father's killer, but after Carlos realizes the truth, Bridges points a gun at him. If it weren't for Campbell's quick rescue, Carlos would have met the same fate as his father. While that cyclical moment would be poetic in a Shakespearean play, it would have been way too morose for 911, Lone Star. Grace almost died in the river crash. Season 2, Episode 9. The voice of 911, Lone Star for the first 4 seasons was Grace Ryder, Sierra McLean, a wise and compassionate dispatch worker who was married to Judd Ryder, Jim Parak. Grace and Judd's relationship was a highlight of 911, Lone Star, until Season 5, at least, but many of their most romantic moments never would have happened if Season 2, Episode 9 ended differently. Following a horrific car accident that sent Judd's car into a nearby river, Grace nearly died from her lengthy time underwater before help arrived. While Sierra McLean left 911, Lone Star eventually, her character was vital to the story and arguably the glue holding the ensemble together. Consequently, 911, Lone Star Season 5 felt palpably different without Grace's guidance. If Grace hadn't survived the car crash, 911, Lone Star would have been doomed to fail much earlier. Given that Judd's character was already consumed by survivor's guilt following the catastrophic accident that claimed the old 126 crew, losing his wife in the car crash would have sent his character down a dark path without his titular saving grace to pull him out of it. 3. Mateo almost let his insecurity ruin his relationship with Nancy. Season 3, Episode 17. While 911, Lone Star had many sweet, established couples from the beginning, the procedural introduced a workplace romance in Season 2 by pairing Mateo Chavez, Julian Works, and Nancy Gillian, Brianna Baker. Their relationship starts off purely sexual, much like Carlos and TK in 911, Lone Star Season 1, but they steadily grow more attached to one another. In 911, Lone Star Season 3, Mateo wants to keep their relationship private while Nancy wants to tell their co-workers and make their status public. When Mateo pushes back and evades her questions, miscommunication leads to Nancy reconsidering their arrangement entirely. The rest of the 126 encourage Mateo and Nancy to air their grievances, which prompts him to admit his insecurities regarding their relationship, including their noticeable height difference. Nancy easily reassures him that he is the one she wants, and after some sufficiently honest communication, the couple was off to the races. Admittedly, the ultimate fate of Mateo and Nancy's relationship was left as an unanswered question following the 911, Lone Star finale, but there would be no possibility of a happy ever after if he hadn't been upfront with her about his vulnerability.